class ever. I am so excited that you're all here for holiday hosting. So just a quick little intro about me. Like you heard, I went to Indiana University, go Hoosiers, #2 in the country for football. I can't believe it. So thanks to all my Kappa sisters that are dialing in or listening in from Indiana. My pledge class, especially, a big shout out to them. But I think my Kappa sisters would laugh to see me doing this now, considering back at IU, I was eating Papa John's pizza and drinking Busch Light, I'm pretty sure. But this has been really a passion of mine. Recently, I launched BabsBoards about 4 years ago. But I've been hosting Thanksgiving and Christmas for over 20 years, which I can't believe it. I learned a lot from my parents about hosting. I kind of thought everybody did this all the time growing up because my parents are huge entertainers and love hosting a great dinner party. So I thought this is what everybody did. And come to find out, after 25 years in accounting and finance, after I retired from that and started BabsBoards, I realized that not everybody does this and it doesn't come easily to most people. So I love, my big passion and is really teaching you all of these tips and tricks that I've learned along the way from my parents and from Ina Garden and all the things. So tonight, I just kind of want to walk through what the next hour is going to look like. I could speak about this topic for 4 hours, but I won't keep you that long, I promise. The very end, I'm going to take some questions. So if you have any questions, for sure, ask me at the end. But in the meantime, just kick back, relax, pour yourself a glass of wine, just enjoy. No need to take notes or write anything down. Everything will be provided to you afterwards, all the links to my website and Instagram, all of the recipes and everything that we're going to talk about tonight is there. So really, this is just meant for you to relax and enjoy and get excited about hosting in your own home. So like I said, I'm going to walk through. First, we're going to talk about a holiday charcuterie board. And everything I'm doing today is, Thanksgiving related because I'm about to host Friendsgiving here in a couple of weeks. And then for actual Thanksgiving, I have about 22 family members coming for that and a house full of guests. So we're going to focus on Thanksgiving, but everything that we're talking about today, you could for sure use for any hosting that you do in general and for the holidays for Christmas too. So we're going to talk about the holiday charcuterie board first, and then we're going to go through some holiday hosting tips. So this is my kitchen. We're not in a studio here. I have Natalie, who's one of my best friends, behind the camera right now. She's also my business partner. How great. I get to work with one of my best friends. It's so special. She's not a Kappa, though, but we won't tell her any secrets. But she's behind the camera, and this is literally my own house and kitchen. My dog, you might see walking around at some point because he loves the smell of food. But, we're not a huge production with, fancy lights or camera. It's really, this is my kitchen. So it'll be fun. So after we go through the charcuterie board, we're going to walk into my dining room. I have it all set for Friendsgiving and Thanksgiving. And I want to walk through some of my tips for how to set a beautiful tablescape and what I do personally. And then we're going to talk about some quick and easy holiday recipes. So I have a couple appetizers that I want to walk through with you. I'm going to show you a fun little trick about stuffing and something fun you could do. It's actually my grandma's recipe, which is really neat and special for me. And then, of course, you have to end your Friendsgiving and Thanksgiving with a signature cocktail, I think. So we're going to start it with a signature cocktail, but that's what we're going to end with as well. So let's just jump in right now. We're going to talk about charcuterie. That's what I started BabsBoards with, is a charcuterie company. I've expanded since there, but my bread and butter and how I began was teaching charcuterie. So I thought that would make sense to start there. So as you can see, I have a charcuterie board started. Hopefully you could all see that. And what I did is I put some fruit on the side to kind of anchor the board. And I have these really cute custom-made Thanksgiving cookies, which I think looks really nice on the board too, and some dried apricots and some figs. But I want to talk to you, just to take a step back for a second, is why do I love charcuterie so much? So I told you that my parents really taught me a lot about entertaining. And the number one thing that they taught me, and they still do this today, they live in South Carolina. They are well into their 70s. My mom's almost 80 years old, and they are still hosting dinner parties all the time. And the one thing they taught me about hosting dinner parties that's super important is to have fun at your own party. So think about that for a second. They literally have fun at their own party. And they taught me that growing up. And that's how to host. And how do they do that? Well, their biggest tip is to get everything you possibly can get done in advance before your guests arrive. So it sounds simple and an easy concept, but that's really true. So I'm sure you've been to a dinner party in your life where you've walked into the house and the table isn't set and the host is stressing out about a brand new recipe in the kitchen and she's never made it before and is kind of frantic. And how does that make you feel, right, as the guest? Well, for me, I feel stressed. Do I need to help them? Do I not help them? That's not the kind of feeling you want to get in a dinner party. And Thanksgiving and the holidays are no different, right? So you want to walk into a house that feels like they're ready for you. And you want the party to get started right when you walk in that door. You want the music going, you want the lighting, and you want everything possible to have done as the guest because you're going to feel very welcome and important. And hosting a dinner party is really my love language. If you get invited to my house for a dinner party, Natalie knows, I am telling you that I love you and I want you to come to my house to show you that. So that's how you should be making your guests feel that way, whether it's for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any dinner party that you're hosting. So back to how this all factors into charcuterie. That's my long-winded version of saying, get everything done in advance. And charcuterie is the perfect thing that you can do to get everything done in advance. So instead of having 20 different appetizers for a dinner party, I love having one charcuterie board. Keeps it simple. And I do it all ahead of time. So I will make this board's pretty big, so it might not fit in my refrigerator. But if I use a smaller board, I will make it ahead of time. I will wrap it up in saran wrap and I'll put it in my refrigerator. So it's all ready when my guests arrive. So talk about getting it done early. If it's a bigger board like this, you could for sure cut everything in advance and just assemble at the last minute to cut down a lot of the work. But get it done in advance. And that's really why a charcuterie. Yes, I love cheese. I love meat. I love all of the things on it. But really, it's because it's exactly what my parents taught me to get it done in advance. So the first thing on a charcuterie board that I think is the most important is cheese. So I have a couple different cheeses that I'm going to use today. I cut some manchego ahead of time. And here is my question, and this is also for a special prize, the same prize, and I'll show you guys really quick. This is the gloves that Sophie put on earlier and the Thermapen. This is what you'll win. And the question is, what is the number one cause of kitchen injuries? Sophie, will you help me with that, figuring out who won?
I believe Rhonda Cena was the first one.
Wow, that was great, Rhonda. So the answer is the number one cause of kitchen injuries is dull knives. Dull knives. So sometimes that surprises people. You think a sharpened knife would actually hurt you, but if it's a sharp knife, you will be able to cut it in a straight line. So that's what I did when I cut this manchego ahead of time, is I used a super sharp knife to cut it into these triangles. So Rhonda, congrats. Dull
Thank you.
knives will slip, potentially could slip because they're not a straight cut. When they're dull, they could slip, and that is how you injure yourself. So congrats. So a big tip of mine before the holidays, right now, this week or this weekend, go get your knives professionally sharpened. So that little, I don't know if you can see my knife block over there, but that little wand in my knife block, that will keep sharp knives longer. They'll keep them sharpened longer. However, they will not make dull knives sharp. So if you have never sharpened your knives before, or if it's been a long time, get it done now before the holidays. All the chopping that you're going to do of cheese, and then all the accoutrements for all of your holiday meals, the celery and the onions, you definitely want sharp knives. It'll make your job way easier. So that's my little plug for sharpening your knives. But congrats, Rhonda. You get the gift. Okay, so back to the cheese. So manchego, I cut into these little triangles. And what I'm doing here, I'm wondering, hopefully you guys could see this, is I'm doing a little arrangement called the bow tie, which is probably my favorite one. So I'm lining up. Can you guys all see that? If you could see, I'm lining them up like it almost looks like a bow tie, right? That's how the manchego is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of those bow tie arrangements on one side. And once you start cutting your manchego into triangles like this, there are so many different ways you could arrange them on a board. So another way I like to do this, they all have names, right? Of some sort. I did not make up the names at all, but this one is called, I think, what do we call this one? The wreath. I'm gonna go like that. Fan. That's a different way to, to do it. I love it. So that's two different ways to cut manchego. I love having cheese on a board that's a little bit bite-sized, right? So you don't need to have a little spreader knife. You don't need any other accessories on here. If you want to use a little tongs, you can, but someone can just pick it up and grab and go. So instead of having, some type of spreader knife, you don't need to do that, especially when it comes to your brie. I love cutting the brie. Now this was a circle, a whole wheel like this. And what I did is with my really sharp knives, I cut those in advance into these little pie wedges. And what I like to do is arrange these. You could almost do it in a circle. And then I like to put fruit in the middle of that circle. So I think that looks really pretty. You could put jam in there. I've seen like a cranberry jam would be really nice for Thanksgiving. Or what we're gonna do today is just put some blackberries right in the middle. The blackberries give it some nice color. So let's see, find that last one. I'll show you how we do that with some fresh blackberries. And on a charcuterie board, I always want to use at least 3 different types of cheeses. So it doesn't really matter how big your board is. Even on a really small board, I want at least 3 different types of cheeses. And I like having 3 different flavor profiles of the cheeses. So this is the brie is actually from a cow. This is a cow's milk. Manchego is from a sheep. And then if you use like a goat cheese or, some other type, you have 3 different flavor profiles going on, which I think makes a difference. I always love at least one soft cheese on every charcuterie board and at least one hard cheese. I'm going to use, this is an Asiago. Trader Joe's has a wonderful rosemary Asiago. You can see the rosemary on the edges. This is a different type of hard cheese, which I love. Look at how pretty that looks with all of the seasonings on the side, the rosemary. You definitely want at least 3 for sure. And I think when you're kind of planning out for your hosting, this is a pretty large board. So you don't want to fill up everybody with the appetizers, especially on Thanksgiving. That's such a huge meal. I will leave a charcuterie board out like this during the day for 22 people, right? I don't want them all to fill up on cheese and meat during the day. I want them to save some room for the main course. So same goes for any dinner party. Less is more. Instead of having a million different appetizers, focus on one. And of course, charcuterie is my favorite, but keep it small. You don't want to fill up everybody. So I just cut some Dubliner, which is another one of my favorite cheeses, into some cubes. And I'm going to put those, kind of fill some of the sides up with some of the cheeses over here. Okay, once we have our cheeses on the board, then the next step is to add charcuterie. So I always get asked, Babs, this is a charcuterie section. This is a charcuterie board. What are you talking about? This is all charcuterie. Well, technically, charcuterie is a French word, which means meat. And specifically, it means meat from a cow or, it means a butcher shop. So if you go to Europe and you see a sign that says charcuterie, it doesn't have a BabsBoard class in it. It is a butcher of some sort. So this is the meat portion, charcuterie. And this is a sliced salami. You could get a Genoa salami. They come in many different flavors. And what I did is I just cut them ahead of time And I will fill in some of these gaps. Now see how I'm trying to break up the color because all the cheese is white. So what I like to do is kind of break up some of the color with this salami. And that looks pretty. I also do a lot of salami roses. I don't have a lot of time today to show you that, but we could definitely talk about that next time. But I also want to show you, there's a different approach called the salami river, which is another folding technique. So this is a salami from Trader Joe's that you could use any type of sliced salami. And it has a nice pepper edge to it. And this is the type of salami I make the roast from, but you could also do a salami river. So that's not a name I came up with. It's an actual name of this, of how to fold the salami. So instead of putting this out on your board like that, I don't think it looks quite as nice as folding it. So the salami river is really easy. You fold it once and then you fold it again, and that is it. And I'm holding it in between my two fingers, my thumb and my index finger. And then I'm going to take another piece and do the same thing, fold it twice. And then I'll take a third piece. And they call it a river because you could actually, the whole size of my, the whole entire length of my island, I could fold the salami like this and make it a river. So the reason why we put cheese on our charcuterie board first is because we love cheese, right? But also because we need an anchor for the salami river and for all the other things we're putting in it. So I'm going to take, this is just a stack of 4 or 5 pieces of the salami river, and I'm going to put it right in between this Dubliner and the manchego. Can you guys all see that? Hopefully. Sophie, can you see? You guys could see that? Okay. And again, I'm breaking up the color a bit now that I'm putting this salami right next to it. So maybe I want to put something of a different color in there to break up the color. I also like to think of the term groupings when I put this together. So you see I have a grouping of apricots. I have a grouping of the salami. I have a grouping of apricots over here. I think visually the word grouping looks a lot better than putting individual apricots everywhere on the board. That makes sense. So the next thing we want to add is we want to start filling in the gaps of the charcuterie board. I almost like it where you can't see the white underneath at all. Like I love my charcuterie boards overflowing and almost, completely full. I just think visually it looks really pretty. So that's the next step. Once you have the cheese and the meat down the way that you like it, now it's filling in all of the gaps. And how do we do that? Well, we have some fruits that we're going to add. Maybe we'll add some more blackberries. Just these, I think blackberries add such pretty color. I always love using fresh seasonal fruits. Obviously, we're getting into winter here. I live in Chicago, so there's things that aren't going to be seasonal. But if you're, living in warmer climates and you can buy anything that is, I'm jealous of you that live in Florida and California, you can get all of this fresh, beautiful fruits year round. But you want to use those. You can use veggies on your charcuterie board. Sometimes we put olives or those little Cornichon pickles on here too. So and it adds any fruit or veggies, and it adds a lot of color, which I think is really nice, and it breaks up the color. Then I want to add some crackers. So sometimes I want to show you guys, this is one of my favorite, they're not paying me to say this tonight, but this is one of my favorite bakeries. It's based out of California for those who are dialing in, but I love Rustic Bakery, so great. And they're showing here on the cover, I love how they show this, that you could stack the crackers right into a vase or a wine glass, like a stemless wine glass, and get that height right next to their charcuterie board. So I love how they show that picture. So I've done that a lot. But also I think if on a bigger board, there's no reason why you can't put the crackers, so this is the same crackers, put it right on the board itself. So I'm going to try to see if I could get them to stand up somewhere. Maybe I need to move my little free pile. But I'm going to get a couple of these stacks of these really pretty crackers. And notice how it gives it height. I'm trying to not lay them flat. So anything on the board, I'm trying to not lay flat as much as I can. I want that visual height. So I'm going to maybe put another stack. I'll move this pile over here. little stack over here. And I'll get some height that way from my crackers. But I do like the option of putting it in a stemless wine base next to your board as well. And then last but not least, I definitely think it's important to add something sweet to your boards. So I already have these Thanksgiving cookies. You could do that for any holiday. I think it looks really nice. Trader Joe's has a ton of fall festive. It's actually probably running out now. They're already getting Christmas items in at Trader Joe's, but all of those sweet, cute things that they have for the holidays look wonderful on a charcuterie board. I actually think there is a lot of salt going on. So there's cheese and meats and crackers, and it's a lot of salt. So I like adding a little something sweet to all of my boards, believe it or not. And then these are one of my favorites. So look at how cute these maple leaf cookies look. They taste even better than they look. Why not put this right on a charcuterie board? So I'm going to fill in some of the gaps. Now I know this is an appetizer, but maybe even after your dinner, people will come back and eat the desserts off of it, right? I think that looks really cute. Excuse me. And then last but not least, you want to fill it in with all of the rest of these gaps with, I sometimes use blueberries, some fresh fruits, but also nuts. So right now, let's see, the front of this is from Trader Joe's. They have, this is like their seasonal nut mix, which is with a rosemary, which is so great for Thanksgiving and even Christmas too. So what I'll do then is I will just go through and look at my board, see any of these white areas that I want to fill in the gaps, and I will add some nuts there. If you don't want to use those, the other option is I always get nuts from Costco. That's really great pricing there. I always want to use shelled pistachios. I want to have fun at my own party, but I want my guests to have fun at my parties too. And it's not fun shelling pistachios off a charcuterie board. So I like them shelled already. And again, I'm just going to find those little gaps in my board. And I'm just going to put some nuts in those gaps to fill it all in. It's getting close to getting done here. And then I wanted to show you, I brought a couple other, I don't know if I'm going to have room on the board to do this, but I want to show you a couple other things. So Trader Joe's also has these really great pumpkin cranberry crisps, another sort of cracker. So if you don't want to use the rustic bakery one, this is another option. I love these. They also have, these are Trader Joe's again. I love Trader Joe's. They have cheese sticks, which are really great, gluten-free. No, they're not breadsticks. They're actually made out of cheese. They're so good, fan favorite. And then, I would just find anything seasonal at your local grocery store and I would put it right on. Also, to kind of finish it up, I love putting a little sprig of rosemary. Not that anyone's going to eat this, but I just think it looks very festive and just pretty. And it kind of finishes it off a little bit. Maybe I'll put one more. This is a very large one. So I would probably cut that a little bit, or maybe I could just fold it. I just think it adds a little cute touch. And oh gosh, it smells so good too. So it's almost done. I would probably fill in some of the gaps a little bit more if I had more time here, but you guys, I think, hopefully get the gist of it too. So, all right, holiday charcuterie boards. Okay, so I want to start going through it. I could talk about this all night, just holiday hosting tips in general. So the number one for me is and this isn't just for holidays, this is for dinner parties in general. First thing is have the party, invite people over. I feel like we've a little bit have lost that in our generation, and we're just so apt to go out to dinner, which is great. But having someone in your home is a lot different than going out to dinner with them. Like I said, it's my love language. So I fuss, I go all out, I cook. You don't have to do that. You really don't. But have people into your house. And here's a big revelation, hopefully. Nobody's house is perfect. Literally nobody's. You could point to anybody on this call. Somebody is everybody's going to say something that they want to change or fix in their home. Nobody's home is perfect, right? So don't let that stop you from having people over. Nobody cares. If you have really great friends, which I'm sure all of your Kappa sisters are, no one is judging you about the state of your house, or that your couch needs to be replaced, or your kids made a mess in the mudroom, or, what have you. Nobody's judging. And if they are, they're not truly your friends. So just have the party, have people over. If you outsource everything, if you order pizza, that is okay. So this is, about dinner parties in general. Obviously, Thanksgiving is a little bit different because there's expectations that there'll be a turkey on the table. But I really just love to tell people that I just want to encourage you to have the party and entertain. I personally don't get invited to a lot of places for dinner, which makes me sad. Natalie's laughing. But I hope people know that I don't have the same expectation on my friends as what I do for myself. I do it because I love it, but I don't expect that from anybody else. Also, don't be stressed out about it. So I know Thanksgiving is, if you're the first time hosting and it's Thanksgiving, that is a tough holiday to start with. So I almost encourage you to not start with Thanksgiving because there are so many expectations of what the menu should look like. I almost suggest that you start with something way more casual, right? And don't be stressed about it. If you have one dish that you love cooking, it's your favorite thing, you've made it forever, your mom taught you, your Kappa sisters taught you, make it and outsource everything else, right? So get comfortable entertaining by doing something that like the back of your hand how to make. Don't try a brand new recipe for the first time when you're hosting a dinner party for the first time. Now, trust me, I've tried new recipes now, but I have hosted dinner parties for 20 plus years all the time. But I still don't really recommend it. It's not ideal. But if it's your first time hosting, for sure, do something that you can make in your sleep, even if it's, pancakes, right? Nobody cares. They just want a night off from cooking and they want to come into your home because they're your good friend or family. So don't be stressed out about it. Do you love my dog? I told you he's going to make an appearance at some point, but so don't be stressed out about it. I know that's easier said than done, but all of your guests take that lead from you. So I'm going to tell you a true story that happened. I had a Friendsgiving party here in this house about 10 years ago, and one of my best friends brought over the soup in a crock pot, and she was heating it up on my counter, and it wasn't heating up fast enough. So she decided to put it on the stove right here, the crock pot on the stove, and didn't take it into a different container. And I looked at her and I thought, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea. And she assured me that it was a great idea. She put the crock pot under the flame of my stove and the crock pot shattered. It literally shattered during my dinner party for Friendsgiving, all over my stove, soup everywhere. The party kind of stopped and everyone looked at me and was wondering how I was going to react to this. It was a mess. I was cleaning up soup off my kitchen oven and the floor and everything for weeks. I felt like it was a disaster. But they looked at me and I knew that how I reacted in that moment was going to make or break this night. And you know what I did? I laughed. I poured myself another glass of wine and I laughed. And I took a picture of it. And I said, we're going to talk about this for years to come. I never would have expected that I would be teaching this to a class. But I said, you know what? We're going to talk about this forever. And the party went on. We had a blast. We still laugh about it every single year. That is how dinner parties should go, right? They take the lead from you. So trust me, something is going to go wrong, especially with family involved. And right. I could tell you stories. One year I was making Thanksgiving and the electricity went out. What are you going to do? Right? You just laugh. I mean, we ate dinner at 9 o'clock at night when the electricity came back on and my turkey was ready. I mean, what are you going to do? You could use the grill outside. I'll teach you how to do that too. But they take the lead from you. So don't be stressed. Try to roll with the punches. Not everything's going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect except for maybe Martha Stewart. But they just want to have fun at your house. So you have fun and don't be stressed about it. Do everything you can in advance. Learn from my parents. When those guests walk through your front door, everything should be done that could be, and so at the last second, of course, there's going to be things that you need to do to get the dinner on the table. But my biggest compliment from my friends when they're at my house is they don't even realize that I'm cooking. I think that's such a huge compliment. That means I'm engaging with them in conversation. I'm pouring myself a glass of wine with them and hanging out with them, and they don't even realize that I've left to do my last minute prep work. That means everything I've done in advance. Um, one other, this is kind of crazy. I'm type A, but I have this binder. This is my Thanksgiving binder. So in here, I believe it or not, I have years of menus, who has come, and this is for both Thanksgiving and Friendsgiving, the menus that I've used for every single year, who has attended, and then I have every single recipe that I make, and I have notes on them. So you'll see some of my notes here at some point. It'll say whether I double or whether I triple the recipe, what worked, what didn't work. I also keep a list of my shopping list. Why reinvent the wheel? If you're hosting Thanksgiving or Christmas or any a big holiday every single year, don't reinvent the wheel. Write it all down. Keep it in a binder. Maybe you're keeping it on your phone, more online, but I like it in front of me in a binder. Don't reinvent the wheel every year. Keep all of your notes. Another big tip, outsource something. I really make most of my Thanksgiving meal and my Christmas meal from scratch, but one year for Thanksgiving, I decided to make my biscuits from scratch, and I got rid of the Pillsbury crescent rolls that I was using, and I made biscuits from scratch that I worked really hard on, and they were great. My family almost had like a full revolt against me. They could not believe that I got rid of the Pillsbury crescent rolls. So I outsourced now. I scrapped that biscuit recipe the next year and I outsourced to Pillsbury. Pillsbury knows how to do crescent rolls really well, and my kids inhale them and the family loves it. So that's what I do, right? So outsource something. If you're not a good baker and you don't like to make pies, go to your local bakery or where you get your wonderful pies from and buy it from there. Tell some of your guests, if you have a family member for Thanksgiving that's a really great cook and wants to help, have them bring the mashed potatoes ahead of time. Have them bring a side salad or something. I always like to know in advance what people are bringing, so I'm not surprised. I've already made the mashed potatoes and they walk in with mashed potatoes. That's not ideal. But for sure, outsource something. Remember, hosting a successful dinner party does not mean that you have to do everything yourself. Outsource smartly and wisely, for sure. And then set a plan, or we call it a run a show sometimes. Set a plan, but make sure that you work backwards. So I always ask my husband, what is the important football game that he wants to see on Thanksgiving, right? And what time does he want to eat? He knows that he has to answer that question. What time do you want to eat dinner? And so I figure that out from him and then I work backwards, right? So I am lucky enough to have two ovens and a grill outside. I smoke one of my turkeys on my big green egg. So that helps with kitchen and oven space. But work backwards from the time you want to eat, and I can help you with this and, reach out to me later, but go really hour by hour of what time you have to do what on that day, and it'll make it so much more relaxing for you. I cook for 22 people, two turkeys, and I will sit down on Thanksgiving, I'm not kidding, and watch the entire football game because it's the Packers this year and I'm a Packers fan, but I will watch the entire game. So because I've planned out my schedule accordingly. Think about oven space too. If you only have one oven, you're not using a grill, think about that space that you need, right? So don't make your menu something that you have to put four things in the oven at once if you have one oven and you don't have the room for it. So that should be part of your plan as well. And then also keep in mind carving time. So people sometimes underestimate how long that takes. So my husband does all the carving, and that's perfect because then I'm getting all the rest of the sides together and putting them in, their respective dishes. But that takes a long time. You want the turkey to rest too. They say at least a half hour to rest after it comes out of the oven. And the reason why you have meat rest is have all of those juices reincorporate back into that meat. So it makes a big difference in the flavor and the taste of it. So it does take a long time for it to rest, and then carving takes a long time too. So you want to work that all into your plan, your timing. And then we're going to walk into the other room, into my dining room, because I'm going to tell you one of the things that you could do in advance is to set your table. So believe it or not, I have my table set already for Friendsgiving, which is in a couple weeks. I'll probably dust it off still, but I'm not undoing it. I did do it early for this event, but for sure you could set your table in advance. If it's not a table that you're using every single day, get it done in advance earlier that week or 4 or 5 days before your Thanksgiving or before your Christmas. And every time you walk by it, it'll make you smile. So Natalie is going to help me out. We're going to walk into the other room. So far, so good. And it's okay. And I'm going to show you my table and give you some hints on hosting or setting up a beautiful tablescape. So this is my dining room. Welcome. Oh, it's perfect. Looks great. Okay, so this is my table that I have set up. A couple things I want to talk to you about the table in general. So you want to make sure that everything is relatively low. So you see my runner down the middle. I have everything pretty much low. So if you're sitting across from each other, you could see the person across from you. Now, of course, I have these candles that have some height, right? But they're thin enough that I could still see the person across from you. So you want to make sure, because that enables conversation, and that's what you want in a dinner party. You want conversation. So you want to make sure that people are able to see each other so they can talk to each other. Also, I would light all of these candles for the actual dinner party. There are candles in here. I think mood lighting is super important. You could see that I'm a huge fan of dimmer lights. So this dining room, it has dimmer lights. My father always says this is not an operating room. Everybody looks better with dimmer lights. I think that is part of setting the whole stage and the mood for your dinner party is the lighting, right? The other thing on a table, I love having something live. So these flowers are live, they're real flowers. And then this greenery is fake, but that's okay. At least one thing is live. So you could have fresh greenery. If it's Christmas, you could have some real greenery that the smell will be really wonderful. But at least one thing live on a table. Also, I think it is really important to assign seats at a table. I have like some of the good old fashioned place cards for assigning seats. I like probably in the holidays, you kind of keep the couples together. Generally, my rule for dinner parties is to separate couples, partially because I don't want anybody talking about their logistics for family carpool at my dinner party. But I think for family Thanksgiving, we keep all the couples together. But I like kind of assigning the seats so everybody knows where there's to go, especially when family is involved. I think there could be some, tricky dynamics that you want to avoid. I think it's important. Another unique way, creative way for putting somebody's name at a place setting would be to write their name like on a white pumpkin like this. You could use really pretty pen and write Babs on here, or ornaments I've seen at Christmas time, other unique ways to label, and then they could even bring this home with them, or if it's an ornament, they could bring it home with them as well too. I think that's a really great idea. One thing I want to show, this is kind of unique to my family. So what we do is we sing a hymn before Thanksgiving, and we also now do it for my Friendsgiving. So what I do is no one remembers the words to it, so I have it written on a laminated card. And what I did on the other side is put a lot of fun pictures of all my friends for Friendsgiving. And that actually goes, I sometimes put it on the chair at each place setting for the table. So that would be really fun for Thanksgiving to have maybe pictures from throughout the years made, and maybe some, if you don't have a prayer or something you want to say that you're thankful for at each place setting. I think that would be really a nice touch. All right. Am I forgetting anything in here? I don't think so. Okay, we're going to walk back in and do a couple recipes, hopefully that I have time for. And then any questions? We'll see if my dog walks back. All right. Now you see everything behind the scenes here. This is the close-up of the charcuterie board, right? I'm going to move this out of the way. You can see it now. Oops. We'll rotate that. There we go. Okay, so while Natalie's getting set up here, I'm going to tell you about the three. Yeah, I put it on the number on the. Oh, it's flipping. There we go. We'll see if we can get it connected a little tighter. Okay, yeah, that works. Okay, we're gonna do 3 recipes today. The first one I'm gonna grab over here is these brie bites. So quick and easy appetizer. Can you move it down just a tad so they can see what I'm doing? There we go. Yes, perfect. Okay, so easy appetizer, really great for Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving. So what it is these little phyllo dough. So you could buy them in your freezer section. They're really cute and little, already cooked. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little piece of brie. So I pre-cut these. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller. And I'll put, you could use goat cheese if you don't want to do brie as well. Even cream cheese would work. But I'll put a little piece of brie in each of these little cups. And then I'm going to use this fig jelly, a fig jam. Get a little spoonful of it. And then put it right on top. You can see I love the fig. The fig flavor is perfect for Thanksgiving, right? So then I would fill all of these up, put it into my toaster oven in a little tray. And then all you're doing, these are already cooked. You could eat the brie cold, but so all you want to do is really warm it up. And what happens is this fig jam and the brie gets a little bit warm and kind of melts and gooey, and it tastes really great. It looks like you've catered this from a professional caterer, and it's really just 1 or 2 steps, I guess. So easy, and they taste really great. So we're gonna go like this, so you could kind of see. And all I'll do is I'll put this into, like I said, my toaster oven for 4 to 6 minutes. Toaster ovens are great for Thanksgiving because your ovens are being used or your oven is being used. So I have a little small toaster oven that I do for all these appetizers while the oven's being used, which is just perfect. Okay, another quick and easy appetizer recipe that I want to show you. And this is what I serve to my family. So we'll generally eat dinner around 4 o'clock, depending on the football game, right? So this year we're eating around 4 for Thanksgiving. That means my family is hungry during the day, but I don't want to fill them up. So what I do is I make meatballs for the day. So it's kind of like a late lunch. I'm filling them up. I'm getting them out of the kitchen where I'm prepping, and it's so easy. So I buy pre-made meatballs from the freezer section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, Stonewall Kitchen makes some really great jellies. So this is their red pepper jelly. Oops. This is the hot pepper jelly, depending on what you like. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add this entire, I think I have another spoon over here, this entire jar to my saucepan. Oh, you could smell it. It smells so good. And then just like that, and all I'm going to do is put it on my stove top and heat it up. So you want the meatballs are already cooked. So you just want a warm, make sure that the meatballs are warm through. But then the jelly kind of gets all nice. Whoops. Oh, by the way, meatball. The jelly gets all nice and gooey with these meatballs, right? And they're so good. And so put it out for your family during the day. Then they are out of your kitchen, out of your hair, and they're satisfied until this whole huge meal. So that's great. Another recipe that I think you guys all got from me ahead of time was my grandma's stuffing recipe. So it has all the details on how to make it. And this is where you can put it into your bird directly. So we do both. We put all of our stuffing into 2 of birds, but then my family loves stuffing so much that I make extra, and I'll put it in like a little casserole dish on the side. And this one will get a lot more crunchy and browned than the one in the bird does, which is totally great. And I love it both ways. But a new take on this that I discovered this year, new to me, which I think is really fun, is to put stuffing into muffin tins. So these are little mini muffin tins. Same stuffing recipe. I think they turned out so cute. And they all like similarly to if you're baking this on the side and you want it all crunchy and brown, this, if you really like it like this, if you put it in a mini muffin tin, it gets really brown and they're like individual bite size. Might even be a great appetizer. I don't know. But I think it looks really great. And especially zhuzhing it up a little bit with this rosemary, right? And so good, so good. I have to make so much stuffing because my family loves it that we don't have any leftovers. One other thing I want to show you guys really quick is before we get to the signature cocktail, which is my favorite part, is Shark Crust is a great partner of ours, and they're the ones who got me on QVC last April, which was amazing. They're local. I live in Chicago. They're local to Chicago, woman-owned business, and they make this turkey rub. So Shark Crust is more than just a dry rub seasoning. It's really a crust. So it's picture it like if you're dredging a piece of meat or a protein in a panko or a breadcrumb crust. That is what shark crust is. So they do a turkey version. They have all kinds of different versions, but they specifically do a turkey version, which eliminates the need for you to brine your turkey ahead of time. It is amazing, life changing. And so what I've been doing is using this turkey rub, and you really pour it all over the turkey and you really dredge it. And that is it. Sometimes I'll add melted butter on top of it, but you don't need to brine it. It is one step, no mess really at all. And it tastes amazing. It seals in and locks in the juices, which is pretty fantastic. So definitely think about trying this if you haven't before. And if you don't want the hassle of brining, you really don't have to do it, which is really great. And last, but certainly not least, is the signature cocktail. I think every Friendsgiving and every Thanksgiving, especially with family, Natalie's going to have this with me too. You need some type of cocktail, right? Especially if your family's there. No offense to my family. But what I did for this is just a cranberry pomegranate juice with the ice has melted, but has ice. What I did is put a little cinnamon and sugar rim on it, very festive. I put a little rosemary sprig in it. And then if you want to keep it non-alcoholic, you could add some sparkling water, but I know you're all Kappas, so you're going to definitely put some Prosecco or champagne for some bubbles on top, right? And I'm going to pour some for Natalie here. There you go. Ooh, that one looks pretty. And toast to a wonderful holiday hosting season. Love you guys. Happy Kappa event. It's so great. I would love to open it up. I'm going to take a step, open it up to any questions that you guys might have. And Sophie, you'll help me with this, right?
Yes, I even just scrolled up to some of our earliest ones from earlier this evening. The first one I'm seeing is how much money, like would you say was put into that charcuterie board?
Oh, that is a good question. That's hard because I'm in the business that I'm getting some good pricing. So it's hard for me to say. I would say, let me hold it again. I mean, I don't know, $60 maybe. Is that, that's about right, I would think. I mean, the custom cookies are probably a little bit more expensive. And cheese and meat are expensive these days. But yeah, I would say the nice thing is if you buy like the nuts in bulk from Costco, those are not going to go bad. And I guarantee that you'll eat them. The cheeses, Costco also has some really great cheeses that are very economical. The price, per ounce is really good, but it's just a big quantity. So if you're hosting a lot of people, I would definitely think Costco would be the way to save some money on it, but it's not cheap for sure. Good
Um,
question.
a new question about hosting at home. Would you recommend removing a couch in the living room to convert to a dining room? Where would you then sit them before dinner?
Okay, I love that question. So I have kids. My kids are in college now, and we got rid of the whole kids' table. So now all of my nephews and nieces are all, that come for Thanksgiving. We're all sitting in, you saw my dining room. And so we have 22 people and they don't all fit in my dining room. So we move our couches out of our living room and we reconfigure the living room and run two more tables from our dining room into our living room. So everybody sits in one big long table. So I don't think that that's any problem whatsoever to do a little furniture reconfiguration. So you could get everybody at the table. For sure. And most people congregate in the kitchen. So I would not worry that you don't have a couch for people to sit on. Maybe if you're watching the football game, that might be a different story. But really, for a dinner party and for Thanksgiving, have found that people are standing with me in the kitchen most of the time. That's where the food is. That's where all the hustle and bustle is. I feel like I'm constantly like pushing them into the other room when when I need my kitchen space back to myself. But that's where people are congregating for sure.
How long do you cook stuffing when in the muffin tin?
It cooks really fast in the muffin tin, which is really nice. So I use my little toaster oven. It's about 375 degrees, 4 to 6 minutes until it's brown, right? So all of the muffin tins, like all of these recipes, like I said, just to reiterate, are on my website, which is babsboards.com. And we also have an Amazon storefront called Babs Boutique, which is also on the website. And it has all of like my favorite essentials for hosting. So it has the muffin tins, it has all of those things as well too. So they're all categorized. There's a Thanksgiving essentials, there's my favorite kitchen favorites, all those things. Some of the products too, like you could find some of the Stonewall Kitchen products, all of those things on that Amazon storefront too. But great question.
Off the top of your head, do you have any good gluten-free options?
Yeah, there's cheese sticks, like I said. Do you mean for charcuterie? I wonder. I think
Wasn't
for,
specific, but
for charcuterie, I think there's a lot of gluten-free you could do. There's pretty much the cookies on the charcuterie board and the crackers I used, but everything else isn't. I get that request a lot. For Thanksgiving, I think there's a lot that you could do that's not, or that's gluten-free. You have the turkey, you have all the sides, you have salads, obviously not the stuffing or the mashed potatoes, but there's a lot you could do. So off the top of my head, I get asked that a lot. And I think that there are just nowadays so many more options than there used to be, which is really nice.
do you have any that are for an appetizer? There was a question about gluten-free appetizers.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty well, would have to double check the meatballs, whether those are gluten-free or not. They might be, but appetizers, yes. I mean, for sure, charcuterie, you would just have gluten-free crackers. I do that a lot. All of the, veggies, if you do a crudité platter, I love using fresh veggies and dips. You could buy some great dips from Trader Joe's, again, my favorite place. Has some wonderful dips that you could serve with lots of veggie options. I kind of like that anyways because it's such a big meal. I'm not gluten-free, but I love having veggies during the day of Thanksgiving because I know I'm going to have a massive dinner. Yeah, the red pepper jellies, gluten-free, as long as you find some gluten-free meatballs, you could do that same exact recipe for sure. I don't know if mine were or not, but hopefully that helps.
For charcuterie and appetizers, do you set cocktail napkins, utensils, and small plates?
That's a great question. So, yes, I do put little napkins. I have some cute little cocktail plates. I also would have, especially like for a big one like this, I have these little tongs that I serve so people could grab and go with the tongs instead of everyone's hands coming in and touching everything. So, if I do a big grazing table, that's actually another great idea for Thanksgiving that I do. I have, like I said, all the kids that come to my house, my own kids, and then their cousins are all in college or post college. So I have them do the grazing table for the charcuterie board for Thanksgiving themselves, and it keeps it's one less thing off of my list or for me to do, and they feel involved and engaged, and they are using their creativity. But we for sure serve a lot that with napkins and tongs and appetizer plates. Sometimes even labeling the cheeses so everybody knows what it is another option too.
Um, did you use the char crust on the turkey product? Or sorry, did you use it on the oven cooked turkey or the smoked turkey?
Both. You could use it on both. It is wonderful on both. I like to put it with some melted butter. It actually gets the skin even more crispy. So I'll put this on first, cook it a little bit, and then I'll melt some butter on it. Butter makes everything better, I think. But you can do it on both. It doesn't matter. Good
Right.
question.
Um, Somebody asked, is the drink recipe on your website?
Yes, it is. You need a good cocktail, right?
And then for place cards, oh,
Mhm.
nope, somebody was just complimenting them. I think that was all the questions.
Oh,
Might
those
have
were
been.
great, you guys. So nice. And I'm proud of myself. I kept it to an hour. That was fantastic. Well, I loved this so much. Thank you all for joining and spending your Wednesday evening with me. I hope that I encouraged you to host in your own home, whether it's for Thanksgiving or any holiday or just have a dinner party. And reach out, please, if you have any questions or if you think of anything else. I would love to hear from you, Kappas across the country. And be sure to follow me at BabsBoards on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of those things. And again, all of my recipes are on, and the Babs Boutique are on my website. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Babs. Thank you everyone for attending tonight's Flourish event with our amazing Babs. These events would not be possible without all of our dues paying alumna. If you need to pay yours or need a refresher, please go to the Pay Dues tab on the Kappa website. We hope you continue your hosting journey and we can't wait to see what you all do this holiday season. We again just want to thank Babs for an amazing event and for all of her tips and tricks. We're so happy we got to spend time with you tonight. We have also put in the chat for more Babs, her website and social media handles, so please go follow her. And then again, please keep an eye out for an email after this event. It will be including our 2026 lineup for Flourish. This is the final event of 2025, but we already, for January 2026, have a financial wellness event, a book club with Elise Aarons, and a mocktail making class ready to go. We can't wait to meet again in the new year. The email will also include Babs's newsletter sign up, so you will be able to find Babs in many more places.
Yeah, I would love to come back sometime too. So let me know.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
You,
Happy
Babs.
hosting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.